we received a letter from an insurance carrier that they were cutting reimbursements for physical therapy from $140 down to C.
Oh, wow.
So, and that was the letter that changed everything. They gave us at that time an ultimatum stating that, hey, if you are not going to accept this by January 1st, that the rate change, then we drop you from the network.
Mm.
It was an ultimatum. So, see, many times we talk about cause versus being effect. And at that
Right.
time, I felt that I was the effect, not cause. So we had to do something to change it.
Dimi, I'm so excited to be with you today. It's been a few months or years since I've seen you. You're
Yeah.
someone I've known for a very long time. And man, I sure appreciate you spending some time with me today.
Likewise, it's been a long time, and you have a tremendous evolution since the time that I have met you, and you have, besides all the other business endeavors you have an amazing podcast right now, and I'm very excited to kind of share this podcast with you now, from my podcast to your podcast, from your podcast to my podcast, and
Yeah.
it will be awesome.
Well, and it's such a cool moment for me because I was a physical therapy practice owner, as my audience knows, and maybe yours doesn't, but I was a PT owner who was really wanting to make a big difference in the industry, and that's when we found you. And we found you through a common connection in Florida. Oh, I'm forgetting which of our referrals it was, but he was at a Measurable Solutions conference.
Yeah, I think it was Dan actually.
Dan, it was.
Yeah.
Dan Sage. So
Yeah.
Daniel, thank you so much, buddy. We wouldn't be here without you. And he was talking about this EMG thing and diagnostic ultrasound, and how not only was it higher reimbursing, but more importantly, it was totally changing how patients were getting healthcare in physical therapy. And it made us diagnosticians versus being, healthcare providers that get referred out to like a prescription. And so when we met back, and it was 2014, I think it was 2014 or
Yeah.
15.
Yeah. I
it,
think
it
14 or 15. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, I mean, who'd have thought that we would have evolved the way that we did? I know we were the sixth, I think, client of yours. We were in the first 10. I know that.
The early days.
Yeah. And how many companies are you partnered with now? Ish.
Gosh, we have right now, I think, about 65 companies,
Wow.
245 locations,
Wow.
like I think 31 different states. So that's, yeah.
Amazing. For my audience side of things, can you share why you decided to do hands-on diagnostics? Because you're a medical doctor, like I'll say in my intro, and a physical therapist. You have both of these like combined talents. What was it about the industry
Uh,
that had you want to jump into it?
yeah. Look, I mean, definitely. Uh, First of all, I was involved in electrodiagnostics from the early days of my practice. Like Costas and I, my business partner, we opened the first physical therapy office back in 1992.
Wow.
Very early. How old were you, Will?
I was 16.
I had that number. I had that number in mind. Exactly. So anyway, we opened that office, and we did very well. We grew rapidly, and um, right around 1996, 95, 96, I was like, okay, I want to do something more. I want to do something different. Meanwhile, I had a bunch of friends, physicians who were performing electrodiagnostic studies at that time. And I did see a flyer advertisement about these guys from the US Navy, that they had physical therapists, that they had studied electrodiagnostics, and they were teaching others. And I joined at that time. I very good friend, Rick Nielsen. Um, and we did some training with him. And I started very, very slowly doing electrodiagnostic studies. But the point that pushed me and us to develop this as a real business is actually the same challenges and problems that physical therapists have right now. It was about
Yeah.
reimbursements. It was about reimbursements. That, yes, on the one hand, we could see back then some clinical utility, some clinical importance, clinical significance of electrodiagnostic testing, but we could have never fathomed to take this and create a business opportunity with it. So until we started facing some of the industry challenges. You know, when I talk to
Yeah.
people, actually, Will, many times I say, you know, that we received the letter that changed everything.
What letter was that?
What letter was that? I'll tell you exactly that it was um, 2 days before Thanksgiving of 2002. Meanwhile, we had really expanded our practices. We had opened, I think at that, we had 13 physical therapy locations. And we received a letter from an insurance carrier that they were cutting reimbursements for physical therapy from $140 down to C.
Oh, wow.
So, and that was the letter that changed everything. They gave us at that time an ultimatum stating that, hey, if you are not going to accept this by January 1st, that the rate change, then we drop you from the network.
Mm.
It was an ultimatum. So, see, many times we talk about cause versus being effect. And at that
Right.
time, felt that I was the effect, not cause. So we had to do something to change it.
It's interesting that this is a story that still exists today, that
Mhm.
people are experiencing this, maybe even more so. But that was the same thing that you said that started this whole journey for you to go, wow, reimbursement for what we do is not representative of the value that we bring. And
Yeah,
you had a choice. Could I be at the effect of this or could I be at cause over this
yeah,
situation?
yeah.
So it sounds
That,
like HODS was your way of being at
that,
cause.
that was a way of being, yeah. But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Like you speak to some people, right? You speak to, you have your podcast, you have your consulting clients, you have
Mhm.
your conference and events that you put around the country. What do you what are the common themes that physical therapy, especially private practice owners, come to this point and complaining about or seeing as challenges?
Yes.
What are
No,
the common themes that you see?
there's an overarching singularity, and then there's the sub causes. The sub causes look like recruiting. The one thing I hear in my world, since I spend a lot of time consulting on recruiting, on how to hire physical therapists or how to develop people, they're the most overwhelmed when it comes to that initially, and that just might be how they show up to me directly. Although I know it's an industry problem. The second thing is reimbursement. Between those two things alone, that becomes the singular issue of just not feeling in balance in life. And it's that's a horrible word, balance, because I don't really truly believe in balance, but what the better way of saying it is that they don't feel in exchange with their own business. They feel
Mhm.
like their business takes way more out of them than they get back in return. So, like, in terms of time and money that they invest in, what they get back in terms of time and money is so skewed that we use industry, common words like burnout or the fact that people are leaving the industry more than entering it. There's this massive exodus, and it's so interesting, Dimi, because as you know, there is such a demand for what we do. Like
Right.
this is the opposite environment where those events should be occurring because there is so much demand for it. But it comes down to, and those two issues of recruiting and reimbursement are so interlinked.
Yeah.
If we had more money, we could hire more. If we could hire more, we could make more money. But it comes back to your core reason as to why you started the hands-on diagnostic seminars, because at the end of the day, what we get paid per visit by the insurance is the driving force.
Yeah.
That has to be the first thing that's causing all this. Because if that was triple what it is now, people would be staying in the industry. We could pay people
Yeah.
more. We'd have more profits, the whole 9 yards.
And we see the application of this actually right now in the relationship between private practices and hospital organizations. So
Huh.
you're talking about recruitment, right?
Right.
And although the numbers change from year to year a little bit, but we are producing about 5,000 less physical therapists every year than what the industry really requires. All right.
Mhm.
So 5,000 less up to now. Now, moving forward, this is going to become even more challenging. And I care less about the political persuasion of anyone who is watching podcast, your podcast, or whoever
Sure.
I talk to, but it is a real challenge. Private practice physical therapists who especially in larger metropolitan areas, they were recruiting therapists, foreign trained therapists from other countries, from India, from
Mhm.
Philippines, from Australia, from various places like that. Now, a private practice has to pay $100,000 application fee to apply for someone to come in with an H-1 visa, provided that they can.
That killed what I thought was the only viable solution. Because I was just in my coaching world about 6 months ago, we were really trying to figure out, because there's already some challenge around that. The person has to take the boards in the
Yeah,
United States. So you're flying people from the Philippines, for example, to Hawaii. And so you're looking at about a $25,000 cost that
yeah,
has some risk already tied to it.
yeah,
And then the government threw $100,000 penalty or whatever it is, like
yeah,
fee in order to do that. So that killed the only viable solution, which for me, I loved. I loved bringing people in from other countries and to solve that problem for us, because then it would increase our
yeah.
profitability.
I mean, look, I came to the country initially as a student with an A sponsored visa.
I didn't know
And
that.
in the past, yeah, it was in August of 1987. How old were you? Okay, so we were both younger, that's for sure.
I always think of us as the same age, and for what it's worth, you look better at your age than I do at mine. Like
Oh,
I'm looking all the time, I'm like, where are his wrinkles? Anyway,
yeah,
so yeah, I get it. You were here on a visa, and that's like
yeah,
the whole point of this thing is that we're able to take not just the country of America, but the idea. I mean,
yeah,
there's again, I don't want to get into a political thing. People have all sorts of views about
yeah,
the border control. But getting people in legally through visas who want to provide health care, no, those are people we have to want to support.
yeah.
We want those people.
So here is what I am going to advocate. I got actually the agreement of the HODS group to advocate, and I am asking you also if you
You got it.
agree on this to join me in this advocacy, advocating to the American Physical Therapy Association to utilize their lobbyists to advocate for an exemption of
Mm,
the $100,000 H-1B fee for professions where there is a significant need in the United States, such as physical therapy. Because let's at this now. If who is going to afford $100,000? Private practitioner is not going to, but the either larger
hmm.
national organizations or hospital organizations, perhaps they'll be able to afford the $100,000 with a contract that they'll stay with these organizations for the employee will stay for 5 years or so. So, but that is a problem for the private practice small business owner. So I'm advocating that the APTA utilizes their lobbying resources to actually lobby that there is an exemption for specific professions, specifically for the profession of physical therapy for the H-1B visas. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in. We are 100% supportive of that. I think that makes so much sense because I don't know anything outside of my narrow scope. So, like, if the $100,000 thing makes sense for legal or for other professions where that money is a little bit of a sting, but it's not a big deal, okay, great. That brings us more money, whatever. But for physical therapy companies, I love the HB1 visa or H1V. I'm always dyslexic, whatever that is.
H-1B.
H1B, those visas are so vital
Yeah.
because they allow us to hire overseas. And it's not even a smooth process without the $100,000 thing. So, if anything, I would love to find ways to simplify that and it's not the long term solution, in my opinion. I would love to hear yours. I don't think that's the long term solution because we're still fighting a diminishing game with reimbursements, but at least it provides us with some space to be able to get profitable, to organize and fight because we don't have time. As the private practice sector is what's going to save our industry or
Mhm.
transform our industry. And right now we just don't have time to go lobby
Yep.
or like if we're too busy treating crazy hours or running around trying to hire full time. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on that?
All right. So my thoughts on that. First of all, um, what will really create a significant difference is positive difference is parity. Parity in reimbursement between hospital organizations and private practice physical therapy. So here is what happens right now. When it comes to commercial insurances, hospital organizations, they are able to retrieve significant multiples of reimbursement compared to a private practice physical therapy. And there are websites where you can go, because this is now public information, where you can go and see the reimbursement per CPT code. But I'm going to give you a very simple example. For, let's say, a visit on a patient where a private practitioner receives $85, for that same visit, a hospital organization will receive more than $300. This is not only limited to um, commercial carriers, it extends also to um, Medicaid and Medicare Advantage,
Mm.
not the straight Medicaid, not the straight Medicare, because there is a little bit of difference, but not significant difference. But the Advantage plans, they have also 3 or 4 times greater reimbursement with hospitals. So what happens now is large organizations in private practice who own 500 facilities, 600 facilities, 1,000 facilities. In various regions, they collaborate with hospitals, so the hospital rates extend to those private practice organizations.
Uh,
And they are able to have those significant rates. And then we have competition for the small private practitioners, small business physical therapists. We have competition not only by the hospital itself, but also by those larger organizations that now their reimbursement increases significantly, and they can compete for um, the same physical therapy talent, but
yeah.
paying them a lot more because they can afford to do that.
It's interesting to me that these groups are actually getting increased reimbursement because that shows
Yeah.
that there's a battle that's being won, of course, by the bigger companies, but they are winning. Like if they're increasing, it really kills that individual who's just
Yeah.
dreams of hanging their shingle one day and having their own practice. But the only positive I really hear from that is, well, at least some groups are able to get with insurance companies and fight. It just puts us in a position of like, well, how do we do that? Do you have thoughts on how we as a group?
So look, here is thing, right? There are three things that somebody can do to um, increase their bottom line. They cut expenses, and they can increase revenue from their existing business, and they can add additional revenue from related businesses that can be incorporated within their organizations.
Yes.
Now, the very first thing, cutting expenses, is probably the easiest thing that somebody can do with only short-term result and low yield. Because what are you going to cut? Can you cut your rent or mortgage? No, because that is what you pay. You probably have a lease. You probably have a mortgage. It is what it is, right? At the end of the day, you have to have the space to see your patients. Are you going to cut salaries? How are you going to compete in the marketplace if you cut salaries? You're not going to
Yeah.
be able to.
No.
Is it possible for you to try to negotiate somehow a lower amount for your ultrasound gel and your the towels that you use in your office? Fantastic. You did it. You saved $55 a month. Great win. Let's go have a beer.
Right. The
Or
beer, by the way, costs 55. Yeah, the round of beers costs $55, but yes.
So it's a low yield type of activity to decrease expense. Now let's look at increasing income. Increasing income from your specific service line of physical therapy can be done by negotiating rates with insurance carriers. Okay, you
Mm.
may be able to join some IPA and join forces with other physical therapists, and can go and try to negotiate those rates to a relative success on your region. You try to go cash also in some cases where you can manage to get some reimbursements directly from patients. Or then you add the services that where you are able to receive much higher reimbursements. And those services can be a variety. You can have some cash-based services where they're unique in nature, where no other therapists offer those services around you, where you have an incredible marketing plan and approach, where you are able to recruit patients who are willing to pay $150 or $200 for that. Or you add reimbursable services by insurance company that have a multiple of what you pay for PT, such as diagnostic testing, EMG, ultra, pay 3 to 10 times more than what PTV is. And this is pretty much the math. Unfortunately, Will, by 2028, it is anticipated that 50% of the existing physical therapy private practices will be acquired by larger corporations and private.
What percent was that again?
50%.
50% of all physical
Of,
therapy outpatient private practice will be acquired by larger practices.
correct.
Whoa.
That's what the number is right now by the year 2028, the estimate. Um, we if we entire of physical therapy, the entire physical therapy, inpatient, outpatient, private practice, large entities, 34% of the entire PT is being delivered by private practices. So imagine that when larger companies take over half of that 34%, so you're going to have only 17% the entire PT industry being served by private practices, small private and medium
But
sized.
that scares me for so many reasons. And I think that you know this as well as I do, is that what makes any unique physical therapy practice successful is the passion and the creativity of the individuals who are giving care. And you can't find a more passionate or creative group than a private practice, because they're the ones who hung their shingle. They're the ones who
Yeah.
put the risk up. They care arguably more about the patient experience in general. Now, you'll get some standardized care with larger groups for sure, but I worry about that devaluing what we do to be more of this service that gets referred out to, and we only focus on routine care items versus becoming doctors in our community
Yeah.
and having those deep emotional relationships, which is what drives you and I.
Yeah.
What we care about is the body and soul of each patient. And people go into physical therapy for that, don't they, Dimi? Where,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, look, the people who get into physical therapy school, they are the ones who are in a very interesting niche. They're definitely intelligent enough to go to a MD type program, but they choose to go this route usually, not all, but usually they are, and they choose to go this route because what they really care about is the connection with the individual, combined with the fact that they love anatomy in a way they get to work with it more over time. But in exchange of that, they give up their profit. I told my wife this, Demi. I remember when I became a physical therapist, the day I got my license, this was in the early 2000s. My wife and I didn't have any kids. I was in my 20s. And I remember turning to her and saying, "Man, honey, um, we we're not going to be wealthy on any level. I just want to prepare you for that. We're never going to be wealthy, but I am going to be happy because I'll be serving people." And that is, I think, a great, example of what most people feel when they become a physical therapist.
Yeah.
They're driven by those same things. And I was wrong on both counts, by the way, but it's one of those things where I'm just kidding. But it's one of those things where it's really, it's unfortunate that we would get our whole industry, the vast majority, save that 17% by 2028, is going to be standardized in these large groups. And again, I'm not going to badmouth the large groups completely, but there's something about the heart and soul of our industry with the private practices that drives so much of what attracted me to the industry in the first place.
Look, there are large groups that are very ethical, and they are looking
Yes.
at the patients and the value their therapies. Absolutely, same. People. They all have shareholders or board of directors, and they have sometimes people who are a bit uh, further away from the delivery place, and they cannot see what the frontline PTs can see when they deliver the service and they are um, interacting with their patients. And look, I don't know if you are aware of that. I've about this both recently at the HODS Symposium and also in my podcast. As you know, hands-on organization that Costas and I developed, it has a physical therapy component, the diagnostic testing component, as well as the consulting and education component, right? The HODS
Yeah.
component. So, looking at conditions in especially in the state of New York, where the hands-on organization is, Costas and I made a decision to actually sell our physical therapy component of our organization, and we did
Hmm.
as a few months ago.
Oh my
We
goodness.
sold
I didn't
our
know.
yeah, yeah, that's correct. So I'm breaking the news. Breaking news.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's wonderful because you've had that for decades and you've grown a beautiful
Yeah,
business there, but you've recognized the
yeah.
opportunity to help. It sounds like you're going all in on helping the industry, is what I hear.
Yes. Plus, we sold our physical therapy operation, but we did not sell our diagnostic testing operation. So
Right.
we have currently in New York 35 locations where
Oh,
we perform electrodiagnostic testing and musculoskeletal ultrasound. So that part we kept because we believe that that is where the future lies, and and of course HODS, where we can create an impact in the industry and in practices around the country, and putting more of attention on those two areas, I believe it will yield better, not only for us, but also for all the people that we care around the PTs and the patients in need, you know. So,
That's so beautiful that you guys are doing that. And again, obviously your podcast, people already know this, but for me, for my end of it, the electrodiagnostic journey was a beautiful part of our growth. When we joined HODS and we brought it into our 4 locations in Arizona, that increased our reimbursement, but it also spawned a new business in Alaska that
that's
Nathan
right.
Shields took off and started and grew. And then we ended up selling to a physical therapist who had become a key hand. So it's a powerful, there are things out there. And, there's, like you said, it kind of boils down to cutting expenses, which really there are, I'd love to see the business that shows up and says, we're here to help you make money by cutting expenses. Um, well, I guess except for mine, which I'll talk about later, but in terms of like your regular expenses, like your lease and that stuff, but then increasing reimbursement is one. And I'm really hoping Nathan will take that on. He's got a program I know he's been working on for a while to help people get more reimbursement just through like tactical support through negotiating and that kind of stuff. But then there's your company that helps you get more reimbursement in a way that creates additional value that actually supports the industry in terms of autonomy and just straight up marketing. Like when
Yeah.
patients and other MDs start seeing physical therapists as the musculoskeletal experts because we're doing diagnostic works is the day that our industry as a whole benefits because we're no longer some medication that gets referred
Yeah.
out to. We become equals in the
Yeah.
referral process.
And I'll give you actually, if you want to put in your podcast website, I'll
Yes,
give
please.
you a copy of a white paper that I wrote recently that compares actually physician electrodiagnostic residencies
Mm,
with what physical therapists have in place right now, and
yeah.
it's like a side by side comparison. So our listeners can take a look at that. But tell me something from your viewpoint and the things that you are doing, what are some meaningful ways that you
Mm.
have put together that physical therapists can save money right now in their practices?
Yes. So my audience can tune out because they understand this point, but it's my journey. As you know, I had a medical billing company to help fight that piece of it. And
Yeah,
then I started coaching across the board. I started hiring virtual assistants for my core business back in 2001. And I had clients, Demi, that were working with me on multiple levels. They were coaching for recruiting, they were getting their billing done, all these things. And I had a handful of really close friends say, "Hey, can we try that VA thing?" And I said, "No, leave me alone. I've got 4 other companies. I'm dying." And so they just asked. They said, "Please, can you help me?" And so I ended up hiring virtual assistants for them. And recruiting is my favorite thing. So we started hiring virtual assistants and they came back 2 months later. This was years ago. And they said, "This is the best thing you've ever done for me." And so very quietly, we added that business line into what I do. And now it's 99% of what I do now. And it's been like that for
awesome.
a few years. We have 150 clients across the country, somewhere around 400 to 500 locations. We have hundreds of VAs that we work with. It's really scaled. And the reason I bring it up isn't to promote, but because whether you use me or somebody else, one thing that people can do immediately is look at supporting their non-clinical team with virtual assistants. It's the second fastest growing trend next to AI.
Yeah, and
Um,
I totally agree with that. And yes, you should promote it. And
mm,
yes, uh, especially from someone who comes from the physical therapy industry, you can trust that will recruit individuals who really can pay more attention to the proper to a physical therapy practice. So absolutely, please promote. That's
oh, I
that's
appreciate
important.
that. I think, and I appreciate that because, of course, I'm growing a business, but you and I are pushing a movement. What
Yeah,
we're really are at the end of the day, what you and I are aligned in and always have been is our passion. And for my audience sakes, and I don't say this often on my podcast ever, if ever, but Dimi is in the top 1% of the best human beings I've ever had the privilege of working with. He can be trusted in every way if you're looking at diagnostics. So for me, what we're doing together is the same thing, just in a different way.
Yeah.
You're trying to get increased reimbursement and more awareness from the industry of our professionalism and our expertise. I've been trying to help the industry in some way. When this came around, it was like, oh, not only am I using a talent that I have that I love, but we're doing it in an immediately impactful way that increases profit and time. We have less than a 2% churn, meaning 98% of the people who hire us never leave us. And it's because when we can have good people supporting us, then we can make decisions like, how do I hire professional help, or how do I do this? And so all these pieces need to come together for the ultimate battle, which is fighting the insurance companies for reimbursement, or as Brandon Siegel says, if you know who that is,
Yeah.
he's a good guy. He was telling me, he's like, I believe that he's not a clinician like us. So he has a different perspective. He's like, he goes, I think it's crazy that PT, OT, and SLPs keep doing the same business model despite these horrible conditions versus changing the business model. And that's where HODS comes in.
Yep.
That's where some really cool cash pay services come in that are going to be really powerful. He's like, you guys should have created stretch labs. You should have owned that space, and you still can. And
Yeah.
so if we had a little bit more profit and time, and if we organize better, which is where HODS does it better than any organization, in my opinion, is that we get people together to talk about how we can change the industry. Then we can move the needle globally for all of us, like a rising tide, so that we all have, because here's the funniest thing is, Demi, you and I both know, if all the people you and I work with tripled their profits, they would use those profits to like better the patient experience and maybe take a vacation for once in their
Sure.
lives. Like the selfish return on that would be so unselfish from
Yeah.
the outside looking in, and everything else would go into the industry. And then we would start preventing surgeries more. We'd stop opioid addictions. Like the
Absolutely.
cascading effect across the human experience in terms of health would be significant. And so it's interesting because we all know that within the industry, that if we just had more profits and time, we could shift healthcare globally really dramatically. But my word, we stink at marketing because we just don't have time. We don't have the business
Yeah.
training. So yeah, I think guys like you and I just feel very called and very fortunate to be in a position where we might be able to help organize
Yeah.
and educate a little bit.
Absolutely. And definitely the solution you have provided, um, of a lower cost of very highly capable individuals, as virtual assistants
Yeah.
that can help in many functions in an organization is absolutely extremely valuable. I mean, we are using, both in HODS and in my the hands-on EMG testing, our local diagnostic company. We do use virtual assistants for
Hmm.
certain things, and the best experience I personally have is my personal executive assistant.
Yeah.
She is a virtual assistant, and she is, oh my God, absolutely incredible. I don't know what I could do without her. She is very valuable to
What
me.
country is she from?
Kenya.
Kenya. Do you
She's
know I leave for Kenya in 2 days, Demi?
you
I'm going to Kenya in 2 days.
Nairobi.
Nairobi specifically, yeah.
Oh wow. You know what? I'll give you the information so you can maybe meet up for some Kenyan coffee
Yeah,
with
send me her,
Beku.
do an introduction in
Yeah,
WhatsApp, and then
I'll
I'll
do it.
reach out to her where I'm in Kenya. And
Awesome.
I'm so excited because like I love that you've had that experience. Everyone needs to have that virtual assistant experience. And I always tell people, don't go through an agency if you'd like to try doing it yourself. You can go, if you're going to hire one or two, go to through like, there's in the Philippines, there's onlinejobs.ph. Africa has its own boards as well. And it just depends what you're looking for. Some people are now going more towards like Central America and South America because they're on similar time zones and they like the Spanish speaking. It just depends what you're looking for. But yeah, like for everyone who's listening, like you don't have to go through an agency. You can go try to do this on your own. Services like mine are for people who are looking to scale or just want to help people who don't want to do it. But Dimi, like it's funny because Africa, one of the reasons I'm going is because we're expanding into that country.
Awesome.
And we love, I was in Mozambique a year ago with my family, and this is a cute story I just want to share because it's kind of
Yeah.
related to the
Yeah.
humanity. I took my four boys there, and an American father, I don't think I really did a good job of like pushing them to challenge them and make them work hard because I don't know, I just didn't do a good job. So we took them down to Mozambique, which is one of the poorest countries in the world, hands down. It's usually tied in the bottom five of the poorest, and it was rough. Like we were digging latrines for villages that had earned it through this organization, Care for Life, this non-for-profit. And my youngest son Van was 12, and he's big-hearted and not I've never really worked him hard, and he just started sobbing.
Oh,
And
wow.
I said, "Oh, buddy, are you just exhausted from the work?" And he said, "No, I'm happier than I've ever been in my life, and I never want to
Wow.
leave." I think that what we
Fantastic.
forget in our physical therapy worlds is that we have the power to help people with technology globally. We can
Yeah.
serve we can serve people in so many ways across the borders of our country, whether it's an HB1 visa or whether it's a virtual assistant or whether it's just being really passionate about helping. I mean, it's really amazing. We feel such in scarcity sometimes in the industry, but we are in a position where we are blessed. At the end of the day, we really are abundantly blessed.
Yeah.
And if we just had a little bit more
Definitely.
time, we could see it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Let's both of us answer this question.
Yeah.
Take home message for everybody
Yes,
who is
please.
watching or listening.
Yeah, let's do
Uh,
that. You know what? If it's okay too, I also do a rapid fire at the end of my podcast for
good.
people where
Let's do that.
I
That's
ask
fun.
some questions. Would that work for you as well?
Good. Do that. Do that.
Okay, let's do some
Let's do
rapid
that
fire
first, and
ones.
then we'll do the take home
I
message.
like that because yours could be like our parting thoughts as we get into that space of it. So let me just pull up these questions
Mhm.
really fast. Oh, there we go. All right. Okay. So these questions, they're meant to go fast. So don't worry about getting them right. Just go as best as you
Oh
can.
my God.
Okay.
Now I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, so what's the insertion of the quadric? I'm just kidding. Rapid fire. Number one, what's the top book that you've read recently in the last couple of years that's blown your mind?
Uh, and this is supposed to be rapid fire.
Oh, it's
Um,
okay. Don't worry about it.
um, so I'm gonna pick in this case. Um, my spiritual journey is
Yes.
a little bit um, very specific, and um, I would say uh, something the 15th American ACC.
Okay.
Uh, um, it's very spiritual, and
So the title is 15th American ACC.
DC
Oh, okay. Awesome. Love that. Very good.
standing for um, American Clinical Course.
Okay.
Okay.
Mind blow.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, next question. What's your top time saver hack?
My virtual assistant. Yes.
I hope she listens to this. Me sure love
Oh,
you.
she'll listen to it. She'll listen to it.
Oh, I love it. Okay, number three. What's the one thing you wish you'd stop doing way sooner in your business?
Um, not taking advice that originated from statistics, but instead putting a lot more attention on how I felt about something, not about what the numbers showed.
That's powerful. Because it's kind of an arc, right? Like we come in because of the passion, and then we don't know how to track the numbers, and then we start tracking the numbers because we have to,
Right.
and then we start making it about the numbers. So it's a full cycle. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the most time-consuming task that you secretly enjoy?
Secretly enjoy.
It's kind of like a maybe like one of those where they call those it's a one of those things that you do that like you probably shouldn't do, but you kind of love doing it, so you keep doing it.
Um, no, you know I enjoy definitely having long conversations with friends while wine tasting.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Especially when it's more than a couple of glasses.
More than a couple of friends and more than a couple of glasses come together. Okay, and then what is if you had unlimited time, what would you focus on in your life?
Um, Training somehow, Paul, more than I do right now to create larger influence in society in general.
Yeah.
Mm. Because
Your passion's huge for that larger
yeah,
dynamic.
yeah. I mean, if see if you can definitely you can deliver to a single individual and another individual, but if somehow you can deliver in someone who they themselves have can influence a bunch of other people, then your effect will be much larger, right?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like, yeah.
Okay. Well, good job. You answered those rapid fires
Thank
very well. Thank you.
goodness. Okay, I think this I'm gonna have to go triple six, cappuccino. That will make my six shots for the day. So, look, what time are we recording this? It's like almost 1 o'clock. I had the three.
Wow.
So the three ones are now. We gotta go for the three afternoon ones. So, wait, how about would do take home message, last words, or something like that?
I like that. I like that. Do you want me to go and then you can finish?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, my take home message for everyone listening is the importance of recognizing that there's hope, that this is the best time in the history of our profession to be a leader or owner in the physical therapy space because we are at this kind of like I'd compare it to being like in the real estate industry in market around 2008. The best time in the history of real estate to get into real estate was 2008. And so a lot of people who'd been through 2006 and 7 wouldn't agree in 2008 if they weren't able to see the future. But when you look backwards, like, oh no, the beginning of great things was about to occur. We have so many things pivoting. So I just want to encourage everyone who's listening to never give up. Focus on increasing reimbursement. Be bold enough to join uh, an event. The hands-on diagnostic symposium is one that I highly, highly, highly recommend. That symposium has a lot to do with why I have my own events. So if you have to choose between the two, go to that one because I wouldn't have mine without that one. It's a networking opportunity on steroids. So just be brave enough to build that network, and that would be my parting thought. What about you, Demi?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have to make sure that our symposiums don't conflict in terms of
I
dates.
scheduled
So
mine
people,
intentionally not to conflict with yours. I scheduled mine in March, so I would never step over
awesome,
Your November October
awesome,
event.
awesome. Is yours coming up this month?
It is. We made the mistake of only giving 100 seats out, and so we're almost already sold out for
Awesome,
March. Yeah.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Where are you hosting it?
Phoenix, we have this really cool spot in Phoenix where we have a state. You know me, I need to be the center of attention. So we have like a live band, and then me and my comedic partner get up on stage and we do comedy songs about physical therapy. But the whole
Awesome,
event is about learning how to recruit, train, and retain talent. It's all about the
awesome.
people side of the business, and most people come from out of state, ironically. So we have people from across the country, and then we do something really fun. We invite all the local university students to attend one day to get interviewed, and it turns into an actual hiring event.
Wow,
And so half of the Arizona students leave the state and want to go out of state. So it's perfect. People usually will
awesome.
hire So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you will give us also the link. So we're going to post it also in our
Absolutely.
podcast
And
resources.
vice versa, please.
Yeah.
All the links.
Awesome. We'll
Okay.
do
Final
that.
thoughts, Dimi.
Final thoughts. I mean, I totally agree with what you talked about and hope and I want to add to that action. Right?
Mm.
Yes, there is hope to do something, but we have to do it. We have to take
Heck
action
yeah.
on it. And if and nobody's gonna just give you the world, he's gonna just come and tell you all of a sudden, we're gonna double your reimbursement just because you are cute. No, you gotta do something about it. You have to take some action. And many people, they're like, uh, many times in a zone of indecision. They're like, okay,
Mm.
should I do this or I shouldn't do this? Should I do HODS or I shouldn't do HODS? Should I get a virtual assistant from Will or I should not get a? Well, you know what? The worst place you can be is the zone of maybe, because indecision is actually a decision. So just decide.
Indecision is a decision.
Absolutely. Indecision is a decision. It's a decision of not doing it, actually.
Wow.
So, hey, yes, good. You're embracing the change, you're embracing the new, you're embracing the new opportunity. If your decision is no, at least you are freeing up your mind from being stuck somewhere in the middle, not knowing what to do. And eventually you'll be able to put those attention units to something else that you want. Never be in the middle, never be in a state of maybe or indecision. Just make up your mind and do something.
Okay. Dimi, it has been too long. I am so grateful that we got to be together. I sure appreciate you being on the show. I am honored every time I'm with you.
Awesome. Likewise. And you know what I suggest? We should get our friend Nathan and do like a
Yes.
trio. Do it that.
Let's do it. That'd be
Okay.
so fun. The three of us to talk and share memories from the battlefields of me calling doctors and hanging up after introducing myself and as an electrician, like all the
Yes.
things. Like we could do all the
Exactly.
things.
Exactly. Be awesome. Thank you, Will. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Dimi.
uh, everything you do and appreciate giving the opportunity also for your audience for me to share with your audience some of my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I guess we say here.
Okay. Well, Dimi, thank you so much. Let's stay in touch. And please, I mean that. Let's stay in touch. I'll send out all the assets and stuff. And then, yeah, man,
Awesome,
great to
man.
be with you today. I sure appreciate your
All right.
time.
Sounds good. Likewise.